This is the airnetwork.net. This is the final edition of course, Monday Night Sports Talk for 2015. Welcome to it. I'm Greg Banks in the studio, and joining us tonight, we've got Dave Shannon in Altoona, Jimmy Ty in Hamburg, PA, and live at a basketball game. Matter of fact, between Huntington and Mount Union girls, JV's playing tonight. Jeff Speck over at Huntington Area High School. How you doing, Jeff? And what kind of score we got going on over there this evening?
I think his call dropped.
I think his call dropped again. Okay, well, we're figuring we're going to have some problems with that. Jeff is back on the line with us. And so Jeff coming to us live from Huntington High School as we get started tonight here on the Monday night edition, the final edition, by the way. That's going to be incredibly crazy, Jeff, with that scoreboard in the background. But anyhow, you're at the Huntington Mount Union girls basketball game. And so how they looking, Huntington girls, so far this season, varsity?
Well, we're in the JV contest right now. Huntington's up 37-7 with 4:14 left in this tilt, and Huntington took the junior high game quite handily also today. Lady Cats, I believe their record right now, they're at a 2-3 record as they come in tonight against Mount Union, and then we'll be, of course, next week. Well, they have another game on Wednesday night. Next week, of course, heading to the Lions tournament up at Juniata College.
Exactly, and we'll bring that to you live, by the way, coming up the 29th here on the airnetwork.net. But, hey, let's get to the business tonight, guys, if we will, as we get started on the Monday night edition of Sports Talk, the final edition. And let me just pull up some things here and kind of go round. Hopefully all you guys were able to watch that game yesterday between the Steelers and the Broncos. Now, the Steelers were able to rally from behind yesterday to defeat the Broncos. Now, who gets the MVP of that game, guys? We'll start with Dave. Big Ben, or does Antonio Brown get that?
I'm giving my MVP to that game to the defensive coordinator.
Okay, go ahead.
That's who the MVP of that game is.
Right.
Because if they don't come out in the second half and do what they did and make the move from zone defense to man-to-man, they don't win that game.
Well, you mentioned that the Steeler defense struggled in that first half. They looked rather pathetic in that first half. Now, what were some of the key problems early on, Dave, as you kind of suggested there?
They were in a zone, and what happens, and this will happen with a lot of younger players, when they're in a zone, they give a cushion to a receiver.
Right.
And the receiving core of the Broncos obviously good enough that you don't want to be giving them 5 to 7 yards on every play, because that means that Osweiler's going to complete about every pass that he throws.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to go into man-to-man, and it was never more evident, I thought, than at the end of the game after Ben threw the interception, how well those guys performed in a man-to-man there at the end of the game to keep the Broncos from moving the football at all.
So you think that's something that they'll institute for the rest of the season now? Because, I mean, they look rather...
No, it varies by,
game.
I mean, when you're dealing with a team as talented as Denver,
right?
I think you have to make that move, and to their credit, they did that at halftime.
Okay.
So it depends on the team you're playing, whether you need to be in a zone or if you want to go man-to-man.
As we mentioned, Jeff, the defense definitely struggled yesterday. They looked kind of soft in the first half. But listen, on the offensive side of the ball, what do you think, Jeff? I mean, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, I mean, what kind of a day did they have?
As Big Ben, he told us in the summer, this is what we were going to need, scores points this year to help the defense. And, when they are clicking, when Big Ben's on, and when, I mean, who's stopping AB? Nobody. Yeah. Nobody is stopping him. 18 targets yesterday, 16 completions, just unbelievable. I mean, they're the best in the business, and anyone who wants to put Odell Beckham's name in front of me today, barking up the wrong tree, because that's a whole other topic for later on, I'm sure. But
exactly,
and when you think what this Steeler offense is doing, they're doing it without their Pro Bowl running back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Bell's not there now. Bell really got going in the running department yesterday, but imagine what this would be with all the weapons. But I'll tell you, you've got a 1-2-3 receiving core right now that I think any team in the league would like to have.
Hey, Jimmy, you seem to like our receiving core there with Brown, Bryant. We've got Wheaton. We've got, I mean, what do you think? It's sort of like an all-star lineup. That's what I'm thinking.
You also missed out on Hayward Bay. He's also a really good receiver also. He's the fourth receiver for them. But I would say my MVP today.
Heath.
Don't forget Heath. That's right. You didn't mention.
That's right, Heath Miller. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't get the ball to Heath that often, though, yesterday, man.
But I say my MVP would be Antonio Brown. 16 catches yesterday. He's has to be up there ranked as one of the top front runners for the MVP race.
Oh, man, he's got like over 1,400 yards already this year.
If you look at it, he's the only player in NFL history with 16-plus catches in the same season in 2 different games.
Hey, I was listening to some of the sports shows today. Now, this is just off the top of my head. I can't remember the guy's name. And then yesterday, Terry Bradshaw actually said, and I quote, or maybe it was a misquote, but Terry basically said the Steelers are going to the playoffs and going to win the Super Bowl. What's your feeling on that statement, Dave? I mean, after that game yesterday.
Boy, I'll tell you what. A
lot has to happen for that to happen, man.
Yeah. However, that being said, I think they can go reasonably far in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if the season ended today, the Denver Broncos would be their first opponent, and that would be at Denver.
Oh, that's right.
And so based on yesterday's performance, they'd probably make it to the second round.
Right.
Although I'm sure Denver's going to have a completely different look if that'd be the matchup here in the postseason.
Right.
I think they can, make an advancement. Who they would probably play next is going to depend on where they're seated here at the end of things. But they could go that far. Yeah. It all depends on injuries between now and then too.
Yeah,
that's
Jeff,
going to play a big role.
Jeff, having said that, Kansas City's in the hunt. Jets are winning this weekend. I mean, Kansas City won. What are the Steelers' real hopes for the playoffs now? If the Bengals. Because the Bengals actually have to lose 2 games and the Steelers have to win 2 here. What's the reality there?
Hey, there was this guy back in Super Bowl 40 by the name of Bill Cowher. Took a wild card. What were they? 6
Oh, that's
seed,
right.
Came out with a little trophy at the end of the Super Bowl. And I'll tell you right now, in the NFL, on the AFC, who wants to meet the Steelers right now?
Oh, nobody. No.
And in the NFC, who wants to meet the Seahawks?
And
then
there you go.
These are franchises that know how to get it done, know what it takes, and they both seem to be peaking and clicking. But Kansas City, what a great story! What did they start out 1-5?
Oh yeah.
Who would have ever thought that we're now sitting here in Kansas City? They're in the mix. They're one of the players.
Man, if you look throughout the league, you're seeing teams that were destined to really not make it through this league. Even in the NFC, teams like Philadelphia, and then you have, of course, the Jets are there. I mean, you're seeing things, Jimmy. When you look at this season, it's kind of a weird season. You either have these teams that are very prominent and dominant, or you have the teams that are sort of just making their way through the course of this season, like the Steelers, and just picking them off one at a time. Now, having said that, Jimmy, do you think now with them facing the Bengals and the Browns that the Steelers can win out now?
Well, they faced the Ravens also.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is the Ravens.
They faced the Ravens, and they faced the Browns. I think they can win out because the Browns and Ravens aren't really that good of a football team. It's not like the Ravens of the years past.
Exactly. Okay.
So I think they can win out. If you look at the schedule, the Jets still have to play the Patriots. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a tough game for the Jets.
Right.
So that's going to be the key game of the AFC is the Jets-Patriots game next week. But if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, 8 straight wins.
Oh, man. That's going to be hard.
You talk about a hot team right now in the NFL.
Right.
Right now, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. I would not want to play the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
It's going to be hard to stop that train. It's Monday Night Sports Talk live, by the way, on the airnetwork.net tonight. The ambient background noise coming from Huntington High School. Jeff Speck is on. He loves this show so much, Dave. He just shows up like wherever. He could be at a restaurant right now, and the dude would be doing the show with us. So we appreciate that, Jeff.
That's what I call dedication.
That's a real dedication.
Yes.
Yeah, what's that?
The problem is there's a food booth here, so I'm good.
Hey, we'll take a break anytime you need to. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
It's not how you start the season.
Right.
It's how you finish the season. Right now, Kansas City is finishing it really strong.
Yes, they are.
And if you look at the Patriots,
right,
Pittsburgh should have beat the Patriots, but it's because of Josh Scobie missing them field goals.
Yeah, and who was the guy running for the Patriots yesterday that had a great day because they didn't use the guy that we got rid of? I don't know. We'll get into that later, too. It's, of course, Monday Night
Brandon
Sports
Bolton.
Talk. That's who it is. Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net. Hey, Dave, much to my surprise, I love the game of the day for me was the Carolina Giants game. I mean, that was a thrilling one to the end. If anybody watched that one, your eyes were glued because you really, truly thought that the Panthers might end up losing their first game because they actually were trailing, I believe, by almost, 14 points? But anyhow, Panthers pulled it out, field goal in the end, 14-0. And Jeff even touched on this, and we'll go round robin. Should Odell Beckham get 2 games suspended instead of the one that the NFL came down with this afternoon for those cheap shots and the dirty play on the field yesterday? Should that happen to him, Dave? At least 2 games.
To be honest with you, I think that is something that, because some guys you have to teach a tough lesson to so that they do calm down some point.
Well,
and he definitely needs a little bit of an attitude adjustment there.
Well,
I mean, it's one thing to be intense, and, I understand he got thrown to the ground, and, things like that happened during the course of the game. But to end up spearing a guy that badly,
oh, man.
And the amazing part is he comes out of that with no injuries at all.
If that guy would have gotten hurt, I'm talking about Norman, okay? If that guy would have got a broken jaw.
He did end up with a broken jaw?
No, I said if he would have.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what Jeff said, because he knew we were coming with this. Jeff, I want to ask you this question. What responsibilities do the officials have in that game to control that yesterday? There were too many incidents.
And I understand officials don't want to come out heavy-handed start, maybe because, there was a lot of hype, a lot of build-up to that game going in. So, they're going to be a little bit chippy at the start, maybe get that out of the way, let them have a little bit of mixing it up there at the early start. But at some point, though, you got to clamp it down and send a strong message. And, and if I think some people need a suspension, how about some officiating crews this year
also? That's what
also?
I was thinking, too. And where was Tom Coughlin on the sideline, Jimmy? What responsibilities does a coach have in that when he sees that going on? Should he have pulled him out of there or pulled him to the side?
He had 3 personal fouls. Am I right with that?
Yes, he did. Yes,
After the second personal foul, I would have tossed him out.
He got yanked, man.
I would have yanked him because ODB is hurting your team. You're playing an undefeated football team. You're winning that game.
Right.
And you're hurting your team?
Yeah, well, here's a couple of things I heard, Dave, real quick. Conklin, he might be losing his job, not just because of that incident, so he keeps the guy in there, and he doesn't say anything to him. I mean, that coach certainly has a responsibility to get him the hell off the field, doesn't he, Dave?
But here's the thing. If you talk about ODB, Beckham, right?
Yeah.
Pre-game, he said that the Panthers were threatening him.
They said they carried a bat out.
Calling him homosexuality comments.
Okay, well, all I know is, listen, pre-game, the Panthers carry a bat because their coach refers it as bringing the wood. So they started bringing a bat to games. The NFL will not allow that probably after this week. But nobody threatened this guy before the game. Now, let me ask you this, going back to Jeff. Should the Panthers Norman be fined as well or even suspended?
I don't know about a suspension, but there again, I put a lot of this blame on the officiating crew. And my question has to be, they send everything back to Gotham City. They've got to review everything in New York. Was it a turnover? Was it a touchdown?
Right.
Was it this? Was it that? Then if they've got that much control over the game, why the heck didn't someone at some point in New York City say, hey, these guys on the field are blowing it. We're going to take charge of it from here.
Well, I don't know if we still have Dave on the line or we dropped that call.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Dave, should we have a program instituted sort of like the NHL with all those monitors back in New York City so somebody at the network or back at the NFL would have seen what was going on yesterday and told them to pull that clown's ass off the field now?
No, I mean, you're talking about, it sounds like you're trying to create a federal government red tape organization, okay? What the hell do you think they pay those guys? Okay, the guys with the striped shirts
Well,
that we affectionately call zebras.
Exactly.
What the hell are we paying them for?
Well, how's that going to impact those officials now? I mean, seriously, you think somebody's going to get collared from that group yesterday, that crew?
They're not going to be. The refs aren't going to be.
They won't be suspended, but they should be reprimanded somehow.
Yeah, one ref, I think it was against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
He was making comments and he got caught on air.
Well, those guys in New York, and he got suspended,
but you're not going to suspend the guys who were at the game, the refs at the game, at the Giants game. You're not going to do that. Those guys should be suspended for the rest of the season.
Okay, Jeff. Let me go on to Jeff and then to Dave. Jeff, do you think the Panthers now look down the road? Do they actually look as that undefeated regular season team, and perhaps are they Super Bowl bound this year, the Panthers?
Well, I don't know, because I think once again you're going to have some. There's some other teams that interest me a lot more in the NFC side of things. I would probably. I'm not sure if the Panthers make it to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't be surprised, but I think there's one or two teams probably ahead of them. And you also look at the schedule. And hey, I'm not taking anything away from them. They've played the schedule they were given, and
exactly.
They have so far manhandled it and taken care of business at every turn. But I think might be another team or two in the NFC that makes it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you guys
Arizona.
have to. Arizona could be the team. And you got to remember, Dave, that was a tough game for Carolina yesterday. They had to come back from that game actually to win it at the last moment with that field goal. So
well, the Giants came back and tied it because Carolina was trying to hand the game to them on a silver platter.
Oh yeah,
they had the game completely under control.
Yeah.
At 35 to
was it
14.
7-14 or something? Yeah.
Yeah, 35-14, and then through some fumbles and turnovers, they end up letting them get right back into it and tying the game.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind. I think the fact that Carolina got themselves into a position to win it in regulation to me speaks a little bit about it. And I think you had a case of we got this game under control, and they just kind of let down at the end of the game.
Okay.
And that shows you what can happen. We talked a little bit about this last week.
Right.
About benching the starters.
Yeah.
I just don't think do that. It's football. If you put on the pads and you go out and you get injured, I think they have to play their starters at least for a full half the next two games, because then when you come to the playoffs, because they're going to be in the bye, they're going to have a bye week,
right?
Or they're going to have another week off. So it's going to be, if they would start to rest their starters, it'd be 3 weeks till they play again.
Hey,
you just can't do that.
All right, let me give a little technical advice here. Jeff, if you're listening, Jeff, do me a favor, and Dave, you probably best address this. I don't know if Jeff has like a mute button on that thing, but it's driving us crazy while Dave's trying to talk. So if you can find a mute button until we get you on the air to say something, maybe you could do that. Because that signal is, it's going crazy on us back here at the studio. Meanwhile, Jimmy, let me ask you this, and then I'll get to Jeff on this. Are you guys going to watch any of these college bowl games that are coming up, say, before New Year's Eve this year? Jimmy, we'll start with you.
I would like to, but I can't because I'll be working second shift.
Okay, so in those games, most of them will be day games. There's none of them that really excite you anyhow.
No.
Does a military
I would like
bowl?
to watch the Clemson game and the Alabama game and that, but because it's on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I have to work and I won't be able to. So I won't be able to.
I'm talking about the games prior to New Year's Eve, though. Dave, what's your feelings on that? You going to be watching any of those college bowl games? Maybe the military bowl, at least.
Yeah, there's going to be, I'm interested in them primarily because you're at the point now where you're standing along the side of the road and the vehicle that is football, that is the game that we love, is going down the highway and you're waving goodbye to it. And I actually found myself here last weekend sitting around saying, gee, I miss college football. And it's only been, like a week. They had like a week off. So I did didn't watch the entire games over the weekend, but I did catch a little bit of the Appalachian State game.
Yeah.
Oh, good game.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, watched that. And so, I have interest in them. It's not like it's in the back of my mind that I definitely want to, be there for a certain game, but it's the type of thing where regular television is in la la land.
Yeah,
now
we're sort of like in
until
Christmas.
So I go by and I hit up ESPN, see what's on.
Yeah.
And generally I'll just stay there if it is. If it's the other thing is my judgment is generally, is it a competitive game or not?
Yeah.
If it's not, I don't watch it.
Yeah.
But if it is, I'll stay.
Hey, it's Monday Night Sports Talk here on the airnetwork.net. Just check us out at the airnetwork.net online, or you can go to the mobile device, tune in radio, and just search for the Air Network. And you can listen to us Monday through, actually every Monday night at 7 p.m. live with rebroadcast throughout the week. Jeff's back with us from McAlevy's Ford or Huntington tonight at Huntington High School. We've got Dave Shannon in Altoona and Jimmy Ty, by the way, in Hamburg, PA. Jeff, I want to ask you now, you'll probably watch the Military Bowl, but do any of the other bowls actually interest you prior to, say, New Year's Eve this year?
We lost them.
Okay, we lost them altogether. Okay, well, I figured we might because of that signal at the high school. But what do you, let's get back to some of those important games then. When we actually get to New Year's Eve, Jimmy, you won't be able to watch them. But Dave, we do have that Clemson, and of course we'll have the other games on that night. You like the way the playoffs are set up for the Final Four in high school, or college football?
Yeah, I think we got a good lineup, couple of good games to watch leading on, and then that will undoubtedly lead to a good championship game. Mm-hmm. And I it's working well for the way it is.
Yeah.
There's that little bit of a, there is some subjectiveness to it because you do have that bowl selection committee that gets together and makes decisions as to, how they're ranked. I think there's no doubt about the two teams at the top, but, what goes on below that is still a little bit up in question. And that brings into question the whole idea of the way this playoff series stuff works.
Well,
I don't know how they redo it. I know one of the things they're concerned about is the fact that they are student athletes,
right?
And they don't want to take them away from the classroom very long.
Wow,
so
come on,
I don't see them doing anything right off the bat. But for right now, there's still a little bit too much human involvement with the selection committee and what they decide to do. Kind of gets that way too with the basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody is using the ratings or the rankings any longer. There are humans involved in making those decisions too. You know what kind of is
I will say this.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I will say this. The one game I am interested in watching,
right,
and I'm probably going to DVR it, is Stanford.
Oh, okay.
Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to watch that game. I'm going to watch Christian McCaffrey run through the tough Iowa defense.
Okay, that'll be interesting to watch.
That is a game I really want to keep focused on. I'm going to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Stanford whenever they played USC.
Yeah.
In the Pac-10 in the Pac-12 championship game, and I'm like, Stanford's one of them teams that should have got into the football playoff system.
You think a Final Four? Seriously?
As a Final Four.
Okay.
But everybody knew if whoever won that Big Ten game was going to go in.
That was important. Yeah. That was definitely important.
Whoever won that Big Ten game was going to go in.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching at least a Military Bowl, and I will watch the Tax Slayer Bowl just because those are kind of two regional teams that we watch with Pittsburgh and also with Penn State. Now, having said that, let me kind of move in a different direction here because we talked a little bit about, and Jimmy just mentioned it, one of the teams that excites him is Stanford. Meanwhile, when you look at the teams that are actually in the running now that excite you, Dave, which team kind of stands out? Are you looking for that Big Ten upset when it comes right down to it? You're looking for Clemson? Are you looking for Alabama? I mean, who are you looking for to win this whole thing?
I admire Alabama, but I don't want to see them win the damn thing again.
Yeah, Dave, I'm with you on that one.
It's
the same old, man. It's like Duke every year. It's like, hey, I appreciate you coming to the dance, dude, but I don't want to be dancing with you again. Give me somebody new and fresh,
Yeah. No, that's kind of where I am, and to that end, I think the team that has the potential to end up walking away with the championship is Clemson.
Yeah.
And so it would be interesting to see one of the lower seeds end up, being the team that takes on Clemson.
Yeah.
Whether it's Michigan State or Oklahoma, but we'll see how that plays out.
Well, I'm looking forward to the bowl season. It's about to begin. Matter of fact, Military Bowl a week from tonight when Pitt takes on Navy. That's going to be a really tough one, I think, for Pitt. But it'll be interesting to watch. Navy has that high-octane offense. And then as far as Penn State, well, I'll just watch them. And let me ask you this, Dave. Yeah, let me ask you this, Dave. On Penn State, Hackenberg, I believe, the quarterback. Now, there's some suggestion that he might, I think he has another year, if I'm not mistaken. He may stay at Penn State. Do you think it's too early, truly, for this kid to come out? And then I'll go to Jimmy because, he really didn't show me anything this year. Like, he's not ready for the NFL.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the offensive line was the topic of a lot of conversation.
Right.
Here's the thing. If you're going to make that move to the big time, look at Ben Roethlisberger and what he's been able to do with a, subpar at times offensive line.
And he was a MAC schooler. I mean, he went to a MAC school, at Ohio, I believe it was.
Yeah, Ohio University, not the Ohio State University, just Ohio University.
The guys that wear the green and white there.
Yeah, those guys. But the bottom line is, if you're going to make it in the big league in the NFL, you're going to have to be able to do some things without the protection of the offensive line all the time.
Right.
And I don't see Hackenberg right now. He's not shown me the skills that he's able to do that.
No.
He really succumbs to the pressure.
Yeah, he seemed to be like a little leery under pressure, Jimmy. I don't know if you got the chance to watch the kid at all this season, but how do you evaluate his season, and do you think he's ready to move on to the next level at all?
I don't think he's ready to move on to the next level. If he does, he'll be like another like Ryan Mallett type player.
Or Jimmy Clausen. Jimmy Clausen comes to mind. It's like,
but Hackenberg has happy feet. He gets nervous. He just throws the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
He has that what they call happy feet. Ben Roethlisberger has happy feet, but he makes smart decisions.
Oh, yes, he does.
Hackenberg gets happy feet.
Yeah. And he has no base.
So I don't think Hackenberg's ready for the NFL. Give him another year.
Okay.
Give that offensive line another year to gel together.
Yeah.
And then let's see.
Okay. Sounds good. Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio. Jimmy Ty in Hamburg. Dave Shannon in Altoona tonight. Jeff's back, by the way. He was live with us for a while from Huntington High School, where there's girls basketball on Monday nights. The Huntington girls getting set to take on the Lady Trojans of Mount Union. And hopefully Jeff is not upset with me having him mute his mic, and he probably knocked himself off the air. But let's move further if we can. Dave, this is something that is near and dear to your heart. And this is something I've been watching over the last few weeks with bated breath because the Penguins have a new coach now. But the Penguins have now lost 5 straight games. And GM Jim Rutherford says he's now becoming somewhat physically ill. But don't panic. The Penguins, he says, have come back to win the Stanley Cup after having a rough patch in the past. Now, is Rutherford kind of correct? We shouldn't panic yet. And what's going to happen with the Pens? And we know that Sullivan's just in there for 3 of those 5 games, I believe, that they lost. Maybe he's been there 4 games. Yeah,
he's lost 4.
What do you think?
And they're losing right now by a score of 1-0.
Oh my God, who are they playing tonight?
Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay, yeah.
But
so what's your feeling on that? Are we going to panic yet, or do we wait a while?
No. This is still wait a while territory because I'll tell you what, I don't envy Mike Sullivan having to walk in, take over as the head coach of the team,
right,
and then play 4 games in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no time to, you can do so much during practice, but you're not going to change the pattern that these guys have been working under with Mike Johnston and try to implement a lot of the things that you want to when you're playing that many games because you have to prepare for the team you're about to play.
Yeah.
You can go through so many drills, but no. Now, I will say this. Jim Rutherford's going to be really sick if they don't make it to the playoffs because he's not going to have a job.
Yeah, because
he will
his
not
job's
have a job.
That's why I'm thinking he was physically ill because I'm thinking, okay, so you got rid of a coach, but the chances are you're on the edge here. He's probably on the fence, isn't he, in terms of his job?
No doubt. No doubt about it. And if they don't make it to the playoffs, his tenure as the GM of the Penguins is over.
No doubt.
You know, and it's just he waited too long to do some things. And no, he's the guy that'll be sick come April.
Well, do you think he might have made that change maybe in October, maybe late October, early November? He would have been we'd be in better shape now. I mean, as far as the Penguins are concerned.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe some downtime and practice time would have helped.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, like I say, Sullivan came into a bad situation here, so I'm willing to wait till probably first, maybe even second week of January before, saying that this season is kind of out of question. Right. I mean, you look at what today I was just looking over some things, and the Washington Capitals went from being in the middle of the pack, although closer to the top of the pack, and they just have had a December that their record is 7-1-1.
Oh man! Okay.
In the month of December.
Yeah.
Well, if the Penguins go 7-1-1 in the month of January, they're right back in the hunt.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
that's going to be the telltale thing there. Still though, if I were Penguins ownership, I would and management above Jim Rutherford, I'd have to seriously look at that. I really would, because it's just kind of dragging your feet. As a matter of fact, even in his own news conference that he had announcing the firing of Mike Johnston, is that he said, I wanted to do this for a week. Well, what the hell? If you wanted to do it for a week, why didn't you do it to begin with?
Yeah, if you had the green light, let's say, the owner said, hey, Jim, you just make this move. And then he sat on it for a week. It's like, dude, how many games did they lose within that week? Or how quickly could we have gotten that coach in to maybe implement his policies and his rules, regulations, and his game schemes and strategy? Well, here's a problem. Jimmy, the reason I'm not really feeding you questions is I realize you're on the eastern part of the state near Philadelphia, and you don't get our games. But let me ask you this real quick, Dave, before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Have you seen any small improvements in the Penguins since Sullivan's been in there? Has there been anything that you've said, hey, we didn't do that then, but that's cool, they're doing that now?
He's allowing them to stretch pass,
okay,
much more than what Johnston did. But you can tell it's in the back of their heads, because I see them.
Yeah.
One of their big problems, and the amount of turnovers or not being able to get out of their zone as they should,
right,
is I see them make so many tentative passes.
Yeah,
like something's in the back of their mind. No, I can't make that pass, and they make this little dink pass, and it ends up in a turnover.
Yeah,
and so with that in mind, I think, I see them trying to get out of their end faster. That's been an emphasis since he came in.
Right.
Was getting out of their own end in a much more orderly and faster way. And I see them working on that. They just need to get their confidence here about passing the puck, because I see them it's so many tentative passes, these little like 5-6 foot dink passes.
Yeah.
And the way the game is played in the NHL, you got a defender on you all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, those little dink passes. By the way, great save. They did call up Matt Murray,
okay,
out of Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
And I'm thrilled about that, because he will at some point be the guy in the nets every night.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long Fleury's contract is.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see. He's out because of the concussion right now.
Yeah, that's a protocol they follow too, and he's been out since he got. When did that occur? Did that actually occur? Did he play 2 games before they even brought that He brought that to somebody's attention, Dave? I don't understand how, because he wasn't hurt like the last game that he actually played. He actually played the last game, and I'm hearing somewhere that it may have occurred like 2 games prior to that.
Well, this all occured during the back-to-backs they had with
out on the West Coast
with Boston.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's when it happened. Okay.
Yeah, and then Zatkov filled in, and then they called Murray up, and he got the start on Saturday.
Right.
He did give up 2 goals, but you got to remember the 2 goals that Murray gave up in Saturday's game were power play goals.
Okay.
And he did have a lot of screening in front of him. I don't know that I would have been able to see them either,
right,
as they were shot. So with that in mind, I think, in the preseason, the games I saw him, he is the goalie of the future for the Penguins. And depending on Fleury's contract and how things continue with him, maybe sooner rather than later.
Penguins on the ice tonight. Matter of fact, as we speak, taking on the Blue Jackets, I believe you said?
Yep.
Okay, and the score is what, Dave?
1-0 Columbus. The Penguins just fought off a 5-on-3 situation, and the Jackets did not score. So still 1-0, 5:26 left in the first.
All right, it's Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, Altoona. Jimmy Tive, I used to say Jimmy Tive, the video guy. He's in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. But meanwhile, hey, let me throw this out there, guys. It's like if you have any radio stations listening to this show tonight, and why wouldn't you? Because you learn something on how to actually do a real comfortable radio sports show. Well, you can always get in touch with us. I'll give you a couple of ways. You can always go to our website at theairnetwork.net. That's online, or you can go to TuneIn if you want to listen, by the way. TuneIn Radio on any mobile device, and you can listen to us Monday nights beginning at 7 o'clock. We have rebroadcast, by the way, on our website and podcast throughout the week. I just had to say that because you know what? I've been wanting to say that, Dave and Jimmy, all year long because you guys do such a fabulous job. I do a little bit of the legwork, a little bit of the research, and then I hope that you guys are actually watching these games, and then you can add your 2 cents. And that's the way it is. You know, a bunch of guys like getting together and drinking a little beer. Of course, I don't know if you're drinking beer or not, but I mean, we could.
Pepsi.
We could be sitting in a bar right now. Just imagine drinking a beer and eating eating a Reuben or something, and then and just doing what guys do, and then doing the show. Just like Jeff, he was at the Huntington basketball game tonight. God love him, he goes to all the games, and he's supporting the girls tonight. And he's like, "Oh hell, don't forget Sports Talk's on, so I'll just call those guys up and go on Skype." Well, you know what? You could do the same thing. Just call us up on Skype. Go to Greg Banks 3, make a contact request, and I'll bring you in. And you might be an asshole, or excuse me, you might be a real jerk and might want to get on here and say, "Oh, Greg, you're a little, whatever you want to call me, that's okay, because if I come through the microphone, your ass is mine." But no. But here's the reality of that. It doesn't really matter because you have an opinion too, right? Jimmy and Dave don't always agree, and I don't always agree, but at least we put it out there, and we're from central Pennsylvania. What are you going to do about it? Okay, so here's what we got, Dave. You got the Penguins, and they're really struggling right now. We hope that they can get into the Stanley Cup. That's going to be a long shot. That's my opinion. Now, having said that, the Steelers, Terry Bradshaw says they might go to the Super Bowl. Come on, Terry. That might be a long shot, but hey, the best of luck to all the Pennsylvania teams. Jimmy, if you notice, we never talk about Philadelphia. We know it exists. It's sort of like the homeland of America, but that's all you got now. You got the Rocky Balboa statue down there, and you got nothing else. So,
I'm already outside of Philly. So, and if you think about it, like I'm going to turn on TV tonight, and guess what's going to be on?
You're probably going to watch the 76ers.
The 1-28 Philadelphia Sixers.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. See, we don't come from a culture of losing up here, and we're sorry. We sent.
The sad thing is. I'm getting tickets for a Sixers game.
Okay, Jesus.
So I checked out on the prices.
I'd give them away, but go ahead.
No, I checked out on the prices. $13.
Oh, is that all?
For the Sixers?
Where the hell are you sitting?
Sixers.
Up in the rafters?
$13 for a Sixers game.
Hey, Dave.
Now they suck if it's $13.
And Dave, that's on the front row. That's courtside. You can't even get a soda in L.A., let alone a courtside seat for $13. But in Philadelphia, anything is possible, Jimmy. And they also probably throw in a free cheesesteak that night. So
I don't know, man.
Take advantage of it, man.
Yeah, that was like midsection or something like that. Then I decided, I'm like, I'm curious how much courtside seats are.
Well, there you go. Probably about 26. They just double the price. That's all. Hey, Dave.
The Penguins just had another pane of glass fall out at Console Energy Center.
They had
one fall out last week, and now they got another one that fell out tonight here in the corner.
How long
after it got hit pretty hard.
How long does it take to put that pane back in there? I mean,
amazingly short period of time. I watched them. They had a curled piece of glass that came out last week.
Yeah.
And honest to goodness, they had that back in and they were playing again in no more than about 7 minutes.
So it's not like Safe Light where they actually like patch over that. They actually put the whole glass back
Oh, yeah,
in there.
they bring a whole new paint out and get it in. Now, this one did not crack at all.
Okay.
But it did pop out of the frame that it's in.
Yeah.
So we'll see how. But they are. It's ungodly quick. They're already out there. The guys hoisting it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have it in and tied down here in a matter of about 2 or 3 more minutes.
It's Monday Night Sports Talk. It's Greg Banks in the studio. Dave Shannon, not to cut you off, in Altoona. Jimmy Ty in Hamburg, PA tonight. Meanwhile, hey, Dave, let me ask you this, and then Jimmy. Congratulations, first of all, to Coach Wheeler and the BG Marauders.
Oh, yeah.
They won their second consecutive state football title last weekend against Farrell, and quite convincingly, I say. Meanwhile, BG was there. Other familiar names were there, like Columbia, Imhotep, which we've seen them in basketball. You think, Dave, will that new PIAA classification help create some equity in the state in the future now? Because Jeff was talking about the parochial schools and the charter schools, and, Columbia has been there probably 6 to 8 times. Do you think that's the reason why we're reclassifying these schools, or no?
Well, I think the idea is to get more equity and try to, they were rather sweeping enrollment guidelines before, and they're trying to get that enrollment a little more closely matched because, the Quad A was just kind of limited in what, the amount of teams that were in there. It's amazing to me how many teams used to be Quad A that are now in a lower class.
Well, in our region here, we only have, 3 that you can think of: State College, Hollidaysburg, and Altoona. Is that it? Is that all we have?
Yeah,
I don't even.
Johnstown's not even a Quad A. They're triple A.
They're triple A.
Right,
And sometimes I think some of these schools have fallen even into lower classes because I guess it depends on the amount of kids they have going to their schools.
It's the enrollment. It's about the enrollment, and I think they're trying to get more divisions in the enrollment to try to get things a little bit closer, because even within the current classes that we have, Quad A may be the one different. I think those schools are pretty well set up as far as that goes, but I think the lower classes, you got some AAA mismatches. You certainly have some AA mismatches,
and now
as well.
you're beginning to see some single A mismatches.
Single A too. You're right, Jimmy.
Because here again, I think the parity is that I've seen teams like Portage. Let's face it, those kids, God love them, they fight to the end along with Winbur's and some of the schools in our region. But to take on a school like, let's say, BG, where they can actually, at one time, they could actually get kids from Huntington to go up there to school in a van every day and play football there. Plus, they could actually get kids from that side, I guess it would be the eastern side of Crescent Mountain, to go to BG. Which leads me to this question, Jimmy. Should we pursue, and we've talked about this before, separate divisions between these public, Catholic, and now these charter schools as well?
I think New Jersey does it.
Yeah.
The state of New Jersey does it, and they do it well. So, yeah, definitely. Like, you have a team like Bishop Guilfoyle.
Yeah.
They went undefeated back-to-back years. Back-to-back state championships, right?
Yeah, we're not mad at them now. Don't get it wrong if you're listening.
No.
We
like
love you,
Bishop
BG.
McCord.
Yeah.
You have Eindhoven, St. Joseph's down in Philadelphia,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
What is that over in State College, Dave? Is that St. Joe's over there, that new Catholic school now?
Yeah, I think they should.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely,
Because you can actually build a farm team, if you believe it or not. St. Joe's, Dave will tell you, that school, I believe, when they opened up the doors, probably in the last 3 to 4 years, they started with a JV program. And I think they built from there. Maybe it was junior high. They now have a varsity program. Now, having said that, here in Huntington, these kids could actually drive 30 miles to State College and attend that school. If they choose. Or I believe they also have, because of the Archdiocese now, remember, which reaches a whole region, they could also go to BG. So if I'm sitting in Huntington and I decide, I'm not going to make the team in Huntington, but maybe I'll go play for BG or St. Joe's, you have a choice. And that means they have a choice on who they want to select and put on their team as well.
Well, I think
here. Oh, sorry, Dave. Just like here in my area that I live in now.
Yeah.
You have Berks Catholic.
Right.
Okay. and you have Marian Catholic.
Okay.
So if you're going to a school, let's say Jim Thorpe High School, right?
Yes.
You know you're not going to make the varsity team at Jim Thorpe.
Right.
What do? You go to Marian. And what happened last year at Marian High School, they went to the state championship in girls volleyball.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
Berks Catholic, all you hear from them is Berks Catholic, how good they are in basketball or how good they are in volleyball, because you have kids from Hamburg, you have kids from Leesport going to Berks Catholic High School.
Yeah.
If it's just unreal.
Hey, Dave.
And here's the thing that
ahead,
happens then, Jimmy, when you start to do that, you take and then they classify the school based on total on enrollment. Yeah. Well, if you're bringing in kids from that wide of an area, it's like you have to come up with a different formula. Yeah, their enrollment in the school is only a certain amount, but when you start to add in all the school districts that they're able to pick players from,
you got to consider that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where the one problem I think comes with in that, and in trying to be fair about it, I think. That there needs to be something done to, have them play their own playoffs as opposed to being mixed in with the public schools that really don't have that option.
Or would you do a weighting system? Would you have a weight system sort of now? You got to balance it out because this school district can select from 7 kids or 7 school districts like Bishop McCourt can. Or in the case of these regional schools down here. I mean, so you weight that a little bit different than you do Class A, Class AA, that type of thing.
Well, if you're going to keep them in the public school playoff system,
I meant Catholic schools and charter
schools. There should be
schools.
some weighting that would go on. For example, BG, instead of playing single A, may have if you add in all the areas that students came from, maybe triple A.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where the equity comes and the fairness comes, and I think that's what Jeff was trying to say on previous shows. And also Chad, because, Chad was making mention of that too. By the way, Chad States is not with us tonight. His wife has his calendar all filled up. He said he's got his dance card filled up. He went to see Star Wars over the weekend. He loved it. He saw it at Carmike's, that new fabulous theater up at Convention Drive there, Dave, in Altoona, which has a 70-foot large screens, and he said he was just digging it. Chewbacca was like down to earth.
Well, I'm on the dark side of that stuff, man. I do not. No,
Jimmy, I was never into that Star Wars thing. See, my son Josh, he's 38 years old. God love him. We took him when he was a little kid. He loved Star Wars. He saved it. But I never got into the Star Wars. I just never got into that stuff because I couldn't understand it. There's a furry little cat, or this big furry cat, and he's opposing looking. And it's like, okay, so what's that metaphor? A big black guy? Now everybody hates him. I don't know. I'm picking up all these allegories, and these like, okay, you got this little guy here. He's R2D2 or whatever his name is. And Dave, help me out here. What was the name?
R2D2?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now, what was he?
Yellow robot.
Now
R2D2's the little droid that rolled around. Okay, the little trash can.
So what's he do? Symbolize like trash in a trailer park, or a little dwarf guy or something? I don't know. So
that's Yoda's job.
Oh, Yoda. Okay.
So what's the yellow guy's name?
I don't even know, Jimmy.
C-3PO.
There you go.
What's his job?
Yeah, they all have like a specific job, Jimmy. But there again, I said, back in the day, in the 70s, and I could have been there on the original date, to watch the show. But my son was been about 2 years old. His mother took him, thank God, and I ever got into that Star Wars thing. I never got into the other stuff, as it came out. Maybe Lord of the Rings, that's about it. But anyhow, hey, listen, Monday Night Sports Talk, let's get real here. Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon, live from Altoona, Jimmy Ty in Hamburg. Guys, here's something really important I want to know. Deep down and dig real deep in reviewing this past sports world. In 2015, what was the biggest story? And I'll give you some choices, Dave. You start, and then Jimmy. Was it Deflategate? Was it domestic violence in the NFL? Or was it that FIFA scandal where those people stole all that money and they had been doing it for years? Dave, we'll start with you.
Well, given the choices that I have been given, I'm going to go with the FIFA scandal.
Oh, okay. Surprise. I didn't know. Hey, everybody else was saying Deflategate, but why would that be such a big scandal?
Deflategate turned into nothing in the end.
Okay.
And that's why Deflategate is not a big story for me. It would have been a bigger story if all of the proposed sanctions would have taken place.
Right.
And, it would have made a difference.
If Goodell would have got fired, that would have probably made it the biggest story of the year.
Yeah, but since none of that stuff happened, and I'm still very disappointed with the way the NFL seems to be handling the instances of domestic violence. As a matter of fact, that extends across all sports.
Yeah.
There is no excuse. I don't care what level athlete you are. If you commit a crime, you do the time.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of sick of all of that. So,
man.
And it is in all sports. I mean, you find this going on in all sports.
Yeah, that's just reality, and that's the real world, and that's how we pretty much mirror and reflect. Well, actually, sports reflects the real world. It's not like we reflect sports. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They mirror what is happening in the real world these days. Having said that, Jimmy, what's your biggest story of the year? Deflategate, domestic violence, the FIFA scandal? What was it?
None of the above.
Okay, hit me with
I
it.
would say my biggest story would be the U.S. women's soccer team, national team, winning the World Cup.
That was your biggest story. And why is that your biggest story?
Nobody thought that the women's team would do anything, even get out of their own group.
Are you serious? And you actually followed that closely, or did you just kind of follow it and you didn't really watch the games? I mean,
my nieces made me follow it, and I had to keep up with my nieces because they would always ask me questions.
Oh, okay. So you had a family situation there.
My nieces, my sister.
Yeah.
They are what you call the typical soccer moms, family.
Oh, I used to hate seeing them coming, man. In those little minivans and stuff. And I was like a soccer father, and I never really embraced that job.
One of the big games.
It's like, geez. But they're not as stuffy as people that golf. I don't know. I mean, they can play soccer, and it's all cool. Okay, let me ask you this then, Jimmy, to start with you. What was the biggest upset of the year? Serena Williams being denied the Grand Slam, or that chick that beat Ronda Rousey, or American Pharaoh winning the horse racing Triple Crown, or this year's World Series? I mean, what was the highlight of the year?
Wow, a lot of tough
I hit you with a lot of stuff, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I came out of nowhere on that, buddy.
This one's easy for me.
Okay, well, go ahead first, Dave.
American Pharaoh.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was going to discuss because American. When was the last Triple Crown?
Back in, it's been a while. But has there been 12 of them, Dave, I think? But there hasn't been one since in the 60s or 70s, I guess 70s. It was. Yeah.
70s.
Okay.
It would be the Triple Crown.
Was that Secretariat when we were kids, Dave, that won that thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It would be the Triple Crown because that horse came out. You win the Kentucky Derby, you win the Belmonts, and now it's like...
Oh, man.
Oh my God!
How many horses have done that and never finished it off?
Never finished.
And you ever think maybe that horse was on steroids? Because that horse was lengths in front of every challenge that horse would run. That horse would be at least a half a mile in front of all the other horses. Now I know
He was just that good. He had a good jockey.
Yeah.
They did good training. There's some genetics involved.
They do drug test the horse too, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
That's
they do.
what I thought. Okay.
So I don't think he was under the influence of anything. He was just that good of a horse.
Now let's be real. Now Serena Williams, she's the sports person of the year. She's on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, and why
wasn't American Pharaoh? Pharaoh should have been on the
That's
cover.
what I'm going to ask you now. If it would have been the sports animal of the year, the horse would have won, right? But since it was the sports person, is that why she got it? I mean,
put the jockey on the air. The jockey did the horse ran the race.
Well, he could have actually. Yeah, you're right.
Doing his job.
He was whipping that thing.
On there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he could have actually been the sports person of the year.
Yeah, the jockey, whatever. I forget his name, but put him as the sports person.
Well, let
of the
me ask
year.
you this, guys.
He won the Triple Crown with the horse.
Is there anybody else in your mind? Let's think about some of the sports person of the year. Okay, Serena did that. Great thing. We almost take her for granted, she and her sister, because they've won every damn thing. And they're like these... I hate to say they're like machines, but I mean, do you ever see the thighs on these women? It's like, oh my God, dude. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, wouldn't you like to get with that? No. I said, because, could you imagine me trying to get amorous and a little romantic with Serena, and she'd like just kind of grab me and squeeze me? Well, that'd be all over. And see, I'm not going through that. But let me say this. Is there anybody else in your mind that you can kind of think would be close to being the sportsman or sports person of the year this year? I mean, well, we know in a negative way Tom Brady could have been sports person.
Yeah.
He'd have been a
Abby
rat.
Wambach.
Yeah,
Abby Wambach.
Abby should have been in consideration, and
Maybe she was. Maybe she was because I didn't see the nominations. You know what I mean?
And based on recent activities in hockey, Patrick Kane has to be considered. With that scoring streak.
Yeah. Okay, that's true too. Yes, that's true. Hey,
I mean that's new territory. So he had an outstanding season.
Well, we're having a fun time here on the airnetwork.net. Go ahead, Dave, and finish your thought. And I have another couple of questions for you.
Okay, well, I was going to say, we're doing superlatives. I was going to say goat of the year, and I was going to put Pete Carroll as goat of the year.
Oh, yeah, he'd be the goat of the year. Or that kid, or how about that kid that kicked that punt for, who was it, Michigan State? What game was that?
Michigan's game.
Yeah, that game. And the game was over, man. Set point, and it's done. So he'd have been the GOAT as well. But betting the ranch tonight, who you got, Jimmy? Lions or the Saints on Monday Night Football?
Saints.
Okay, you're going to put all your money up. I mean, hey, what do you think? I'll give you points, man. 20, 30 points. I mean, over, under. They going to win by 30 or over or less?
Less by
less.
30.
Okay.
Less by 30.
Less by 30. Dave, who you taking in that game? Lions or Saints?
Saints.
Saints going in Monday Night Football. That's happening tonight. We don't very often talk about Monday Night Football because if the Steelers aren't involved, it just ain't. That's as far as I'm concerned. Like Dave said, he's watching the hockey game now. If he gets real bored, he'll watch the repeat later on tonight on Root Sports. Because
I'm going to watch the Sixers.
Yeah, well, you will, but I would never watch the Sixers. I'd be watching like Star Wars, Jimmy, and I've never seen it before I watched the Sixers. But anyhow, that's betting the ranch. Now, in the man's world, and let's face it, we're both and all men here. We got Jimmy Ty in Hamburg. We got Dave Shannon in Altoona. We'd have Chad States here. Boy, I'd like to get his opinion on this next question. Or we have Jeff Speck. He's live at Huntington High School tonight following the Lady Cats in basketball. In a man's world, what's really more important? Now, let me give you a multiple choice of questions. What's important to most men? A waffle iron or a crock pot?
A crock pot. There's less involved. You just throw the stuff in and turn it on and walk away.
Yeah, we like easy stuff, right, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Waffle iron.
Jimmy, you would rather have a
Waffle
waffle iron.
Yeah, I sort of had to go against you there. But
You got to mix batter up, and then you got to
you gotta go through
it.
Hey, but Dave, you know what?
Crock pot.
That crock pot comes in handy. Now, I use my crock pot at least like 2 or 3 times a week. I get very healthy meals, like Dave said. You throw a piece of meat in there and throw a couple of potatoes and carrots in there. In like less than 6 hours, you got a meal. Okay, you can't burn anything unless you run the thing on high and leave your house because 3 days later, it'll be burned up because I proved that once. I proved that once when I was drunk and I was younger. But if you're actually watchful and vigilant and you put the stuff in there and go to work and come back, it's a ready meal. Now, and I don't even want to kind of go here, but we will go here. Wine or beer? I mean, because, we have so many people that are like into that connoisseur. I'm a wine drinker and I sniff and, hey, listen, I drink beer, to be quite honest. I have nothing to do with wine, except when I was 16, 17, I get like at Boone's Farm and stuff. So where you going with that, Jimmy? Wine or beer?
Neither, because I don't drink beer and I don't drink wine.
All right, he's a teetotaler. What do they call those guys? Whatever you are.
I drink the hard liquor.
Okay, Dave, what do you like? Would you drink a beer or would you drink a wine?
If I were, it would be beer.
Okay, it would be beer. Okay, so am I the only one here? And I know if Chad were here, he can drink a lot of beer, that guy. I mean, he lives to drink beer. He's a guy, and I know, Chad, you're listening to the podcast here, but this is the truth. He'll call you like when there's nothing else going on in his life and his wife's not scheduling his life and say, hey, You want to go get a beer. Now, I don't know because I've not gone with him, but he sounds like the kind of dude when you go out for one beer, you might be out 2 or 3 days. See, and I don't want to go back that way again. See, he's younger than me. I've been there and done that. But thanks for the invitation there, Chad. Okay, so I had some other multiple questions for you, but I think we'll just kind of lay those to rest. What do you guys got going on?
Let's do one more.
Okay,
One
can you come up with one? Let me think of one. I was going to think of something like sex or sleep. Well, I'm not getting any sex, so that pretty much leaves me like sleeping all the time. And
Here we go. Pickup truck or SUV?
Pickup
Jimmy?
truck or SUV? Ooh, okay. I'll take that.
I'll take an SUV because that's what I drive right now. So SUV.
Yeah, I take the truck, Dave, because I had a pickup truck. I had that Chevy Avalanche for years, and it served me well, and I could put a lot of stuff in there. I could carry all my fishing gear. I could put my camping gear in there. I could put additional food supplies in there, and I'd have room like for a little family if I wanted to. That Chevy Avalanche was better, than a tiny house, Dave.
Yep.
Now you're driving an SUV though, right? Or are you getting a truck?
I am in a as they say, crossover right now. And by the way, the St. Louis Blues, I think, are leading the Flyers here. Does that surprise you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's 2-0 Blues.
It wouldn't surprise me if the St. Louis Blues were leading the 76ers. Why not take on both of them at the same time?
At any rate, no, I'm starting to lean toward a pickup truck because of the versatility that you just described. Even though the SUV has a lot of versatility to it, so does the truck.
Well, let me ask you this. Is that because the gas prices are going down, and aren't you afraid that once they go back up to $4, you're going to be stuck with a truck, man?
I'll tell you what, I'm impressed with that Ford aluminum, heavy-duty aluminum body.
Yeah.
I don't know. That, as they keep tweaking with that, they may get that to the point where the mileage on that's pretty darn good.
Well, those guys used to rag me at Atlantic Broadband about a truck, and they would always say, oh, you're driving a Chevy, and everybody else down there, I think they drove like Fords. But, I noticed Fords, like their bumpers rust faster. Maybe that's just what I've seen. I hope that's not the case for you, Dave. Hey, Dave, Merry Christmas to you and Jimmy.
Same to you, sir.
Listen, we're going to take a week off and just enjoy the holidays. I'll see you guys back here, in 2016. How's that sound?
All right.
Good, Greg.
All right, Monday Night Sports Talk. Thanks for listening, folks. Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the whole gang, from all of us here at the airnetwork.net.